Welcome everyone to the Reinvent Yourself series. I'm your host. I'm Shawn Marshall, and I'm so excited for today. Briefly, the Reinvent Yourself series is for you at home. I really believe that everyone has a gift to offer to the world, or a path, a certain purpose that we're here for. And so this series is to inspire you to really listen to what that is for you, what's next for you in your life, and for you to take action into what's next. So with that, I'm excited for today's guest, Anthony Profeta. Anthony is a meditation and mindfulness expert. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. It's great to be
Yeah,
here with John and everybody else, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share um, anything that we talk about today and be part of this Reinvent Yourself series. I think it's a powerful topic to talk about.
totally, man. Yeah, totally. And just from talking with you before this started, you put in perspective all the reinvention that you've done. I start to kind of take things for granted about reinvention, because we've all been in reinvention for the last year,
Yeah,
and I've sort of normalized it, and then I have to remember, like, yeah, man, you really have done a lot over the last year to reinvent yourself, as well as everyone listening, and it's still it's a process still.
oh
So,
yeah,
well, man,
definitely.
why don't you introduce yourself to those who haven't met you? You do a way better job than I did.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very happy to be part of the series because, to be honest with you, my life has been a series of reinventions. So even though you did introduce me as a meditation and mindfulness expert, that wasn't ever what I planned to do with my life professionally. I got onto the meditation path for my own personal spiritual reasons over 2 decades ago, back in the year 2000, but really thinking that it was only going to be for me. And I thought the plans that I had was that I would be helping people through a practice in traditional medicine. And I did go and enter medical school in New York City to go work on that path. But maybe you've heard the saying, we make plans and God laughs. Well, apparently I was making plans and he decided to laugh because my life did take a holistic route, and I began to reinvent myself in a more holistic sort of way. So the real primary reason being, if anyone listening is in medicine, I think they do wonderful jobs. I think that's a wonderful field to be in. But the one small pet peeve that I had with the practice was the fact that research by the American Medical Association, top universities such as Harvard and Duke and Wake Forest and Yale, their research shows that nearly back when I was in school, it was 67% of all illness and disease was due to stress. However, since that time, the numbers have drastically gone up. And
Mm.
recent studies this past year, with the whole pandemic and the whole COVID situation, it's now showing that nearly 90%, if you can believe this, of all doctor visits and all illness is now related. The number one root cause is stress, nearly 90%.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean that's huge. And now, when I was in school, I knew that approximately 70% of all illness was due to stress. I began to say to myself, well, then why aren't we focusing in the medical community more directly on stress management and ways to help people get to that underlying root cause? Because if that's really the issue, if that's really the root cause to nearly 70% of all illness, we should be focusing heavily upon that. And the way I was taught was not to focus on the root cause of stress, but to focus on symptoms. People would come in, they'd rattle off a bunch of symptoms, help them treat those symptoms, eliminate those symptoms, and send them on their way. But if you do that, the stressor says, hey, wait a minute, you didn't do anything about me at all. You left me here. And
Yeah.
if you leave me here, but I can't express myself through the symptom because now you blocked the ability to express that, I have to go to another organ system or another part of the body and begin to create symptoms or disease somewhere else. And I didn't want to do that because I knew that by doing that, you're kicking the can down the road for the patient to eventually be coming back with problems in their body somewhere else later on at some point in their life. So I said, let me, in a way, reinvent myself and really begin to focus upon stress management, ways to help people deal with stress, and maybe direct my path in a more holistic sort of approach to the body and to our mind and all of that, because I believe in a holistic approach. I believe we can't compartmentalize the body and just look at really the heart or this or that. Specialized surgeons can, because we need those sort of people in the world. But if you're really looking at healing, you have to look at the body as a whole unit. And so I began to take a much more holistic sort of turn. I knew how my meditation practice and my mindfulness practice was helping me through very stressful times of my life. So I began to look at it not just as a spiritual practice, but really begin to look at it as more of a health and wellness perspective. I began to dive into any of the research that I could find at the time. Back in the time I was in school, there was approximately about 3,000, maybe 4,000 published articles on meditation. Today, there's nearly 8,000. It has doubled in approximately
That's
just a,
awesome.
yeah, it really is, because it's really opened the doors now to doctors prescribing it. A lot of the classmates that I was with, they're now doctors in Boston, in LA, in New York, and they're open now. They're actually, in many cases, either referring patients to me in order to help them deal with stress in their life, or they're telling their patients, hey, I think you should start practicing meditation. And 20 years ago, that never, maybe here or there sporadically, but not as broad scale as it is now, because there's many studies that have really opened the door. And once I decided to step foot into that path, one of the ways I really did move into reinvention was I did go dive deep, really deep into meditation. I went to go live in India and Nepal, studying and living as a monk for a period of time. Really.
Wow, man. I didn't realize you lived as a monk, or maybe I forgot that about you. Okay, cool.
I did. I was living in a Buddhist monastery as a Buddhist monk for a period of time. I also lived in some Hindu ashrams for a while and many other spiritual centers. And I have had the blessed opportunity to really be mentored and guided by some of today's very well-known teachers of the field. So my guiding mentor and till today is actually a man named Jack Kornfield. If any of the listeners out there are familiar with meditation or mindfulness practice here in the United States, he's one of the primary ones who came back in the late 60s, early 70s with another dear mentor of mine named Sharon Salzberg, and they began teaching meditation in the early 70s around the United States, founding the Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts, and to found Spirit Rock out in Woodacre, California. But the real highlight of this journey so far was being able to spend 5 days taking teachings and initiations with the Dalai Lama himself. And that was a life-changing experience for me. And to be able to share any of the knowledge that I've gained from these meditation masters with any people who do come to me for meditation guidance, or to learn about mindfulness or any of the approaches that are out there. It's really a humbling experience to share anything that I've gained from them with people, to share that knowledge, because I believe anything we learn, we're not supposed to keep to ourselves. We're supposed to share that with others so others can benefit as well. So that's a little bit about how I really got to where I'm at. And it was not an easy journey. This reinvention of moving from traditional medicine into a more holistic approach. There were many people that thought I totally lost my mind.
That's what I
But
wanted to talk to you. That was my first question, is I wanted to dive into exactly that. So we're on the brain waves about that. To talk about it, man. One of the questions I want you to pick up where you were exactly where with the people, because I know that's a big thing when we make a big change, is how the people around us are affected by that. And then also, what did it take from you? Like, being a medical doctor has such like a stigma or a prestige, or however you want to frame it with it. And so sometimes just changing away from something, there's that disconnect from the status or what you thought it was supposed to be to another path. So yeah, share about a couple of those things.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. Reinvention definitely takes courage. Reinvention takes bravery. Reinvention takes discipline and will and patience. Because, well, number one is moving from a traditional medicine to a more holistic approach of meditation and mindfulness. There were many people, both in the school community of friends that totally thought, what's going on? Are you having like a nervous breakdown? Is there something wrong with you? You're going from traditional medicine now, where we're on a path together where we're going to a very secure job, where we're going to one of prestige and all of this. You're going to have that doctor title. And so many didn't understand that. They said, "What are you? You're going to be a yoga teacher? I don't understand. Like, what is going on here?" And so, there, to be honest, and to be frank, there were some people that I was in class with that since that totally disowned me. Like they thought I fell off the deep end, and our friendships after that time totally split, and we haven't been in touch. I do have a
Wow.
yeah, I do have a solid group of friends and community that are still we're still friends. We have a little WhatsApp community that we still stay in touch with together every day, sending each other texts, about our life and sharing experiences.
And
And
they went on, those are ones that went on the traditional route, became doctors and that sort of thing.
route, and I'm included in their community. We're still
Yeah.
tight friends today, and they've, in some way, one of them actually said to me, Anthony, you're probably doing better healing than actually we are, because we're just fixing a physical component where you're really diving deeper into the emotional and mental component. And one or two of them gave me a very nice nickname. They gave me the DR title, and they call me Dr. Soul because
Oh man,
so,
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome recognition, man. That really is.
Yeah,
Especially,
yeah,
man, especially back then in New York. You went to school in New York.
I
That's
did.
that's where you started. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, it's like I just pictured like in the year 2000, in the heart of New York, going in medical school and saying, no, I'm gonna study meditation and go this other route. I mean, it's just totally against the grain. But
Totally. Yeah, I was 2 years into it when I decided to finally make that choice. There was a deep calling within me. Something within me was there was like this urge to say, I'm not logically, I'm not understanding this. Why are we treating symptoms? If all of your research is showing that 70% of illness is due to stress, why aren't we heavily focusing on this? Maybe if we get more in touch with the stress management and move people in ways to help them deal with the stressful world and navigate difficult emotions, maybe we can prevent some of these illnesses from happening. And that's when I was really getting this urge and this push to start moving more holistically into that direction. And again, this whole reinvention, I did mention it takes patience, it takes dedication, bravery. I was taking that step. Not only did friends think I lost my mind, but I had family members that also thought, "What's wrong with Anthony? Why is he turning his back on this road that's leading to the house with the white picket fence, the dog in the yard, and everything
yeah.
society is saying one should have?" And I understand many people were well-meaning in that. They're trying to make sure I'm making a right decision. It was
Yeah.
because they loved me. They wanted what they thought was best for me, and was trying
Right.
to push me in that direction. But there was something deeper within me that was pushing me and saying, no, you're going to try going in this direction. And at first, when I did, after I came back from India, after I did all that, and decided I'm going to start moving into this full force, I began to even question myself, because when I put myself out there now as a meditation teacher, a mindfulness instructor, and working with these modalities, um, I'd have a class and maybe one person would show up, or maybe nobody would show up. To be honest with you,
Hey,
there was,
I know that. I know that exact feeling, man. Yeah, that you take me back to a very, sad moment when I did my first group thing and no one showed up, and I'm twiddling my thumbs like, God, I must suck. No.
and that's what you begin to do. Your mind starts going, okay, did you make the right decision? Are you doing the right thing? Is this
Yeah.
good? And then my mind is going, were my family and friends right? Am I going to be able to pay bills on this path? But
Yeah.
if you're coming from your heart, if you're following your passion, my question is, when it comes to reinvention, really meditate and contemplate and ask yourself, why are you reinventing yourself? I believe if your purpose is solely out of motivation for financial gain or this or that, that might, in my view, in my perspective, maybe be the wrong type of motivation. But if your reinvention is to really be of greater service to others, to help people, to be more selfless in your desire, then I believe that's a great motivation and a great way to reason to reinvent yourself. And I believe you will succeed because you're following a heart passion, and your motivation and your intention is for a greater good, not just hyper focus on maybe just finances. If your motivation is pure, those other things, they will come. Because let me tell you about where this finally led for me. This finally led, if I gave up, okay, who knows where it would have gone, what I would have done with my life. But I continued to persevere. Yes, I would complain at times. I would call my mother up and say, Mom, this is really hard. I had no one show up again today. Well, what do you think I'm going to do? She would say, well, what, do you believe in this? And I say, yes, I definitely believe in this. I believe that this is the future. Getting into a more holistic path I see is maybe a big change for medicine. So she said, Anthony, you got to just keep following your heart. And so I did, and I persevered, and I kept putting myself out there, and I kept doing classes. And if one person showed up, I said to myself, okay, this is the universe or God or whatever label you want to put on that. I said fate, whatever. This is saying to me that there's this one person here, because this one person needs a more intimate experience. They need a connection with you one-on-one. If maybe it was in a group, maybe they won't ask certain questions, or maybe they'd be a little bit hesitant or put off. So that's what they needed. And then if nobody showed up, I said, okay, this is the universe and God telling me I need to practice for myself. So I didn't. If I had the studio or whatever event space I was in scheduled for a period of time, I stayed there and I just meditated for that period of time. And then I
Ah,
just,
that's awesome.
yeah. So I used it in that way. And then I just kept going. And after about 2 years, about the 2 year mark, I had people that were coming, and then they were so, I, I don't want to sound prideful, but they were impressed by the class that they came to or whatever, that they began to go out to their friends and say, hey, I just went to this meditation class with this guy Anthony, and you got to come check it out. And by word of mouth, that began to grow. And then I began to offer different types of meditations, not just formal silent practices or mantra practices or breath work or breath awareness and all of that. I began to offer sound meditations and all of these different ways to really give people an introduction and an understanding that there are thousands of ways to meditate, and you just need to find your entrance or your doorway into the path. Not everybody's going to sit and enjoy chanting a mantra. Not everybody's going to sit, enjoy being in total silence. It resonates for you. And after a couple of years of just grinding and continuing and doing that, it got to the point where, people who were, I'm in Florida, so we have these people who are called snowbirds. They come from different parts of the country and come down in the winter to get away from
Yeah.
the cold. Well, they would come down from wherever they were at, and then they go back home to whatever, spiritual center, yoga studio, or wellness center they were in and say, hey, I saw this class by this guy, Anthony. You got to reach out to him. I think you'd love what he has to offer. And then I began traveling to Virginia Beach and New York and New Jersey and all of these places doing classes, and it just blossomed and snowballed. And now I'm offering international retreats in India. And well, let me say, prior to COVID, I was offering
Yeah.
all around the world. And, I was taking groups of people to sacred places. We were meditating under the tree the Buddha meditated in. We were meditating in caves that St. Francis and his monks meditated in, and sat and prayed. And it's been a wonderful journey, a wonderful experience, and an amazing journey, one I never ever thought, would come. And I've done some wonderful conferences, and I've done meditation retreats with Sharon Salzberg, my mentor of mine. So that was a highlight. And I've been able to just share meditation with tens of thousands of people now. And I never, ever would have expected my life going that far or being where I'm at today. Never. I didn't see this happening. So it's been an amazing journey, amazing reinvention. But if you have any questions about what we've talked about so far, I'll stop, because I can say also that 2020 for me was another year of reinvention, if you want me to continue on this topic.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, you said so much stuff, man. I want to just like really hit the nail on the head about okay, you got this new passion. You showed up to wherever you showed up. Like, I'm gonna go do this freaking meditation class. I can't wait. And then it's like crickets, and no one shows up. And dude, when you say that, I know exactly where I was when that first happened to me, you know. And every time I drove past this park that it happened, it's just this rush of memory of that feeling of people not showing up. And if you know, if anyone listening is in a position where you're launching something new and you think people aren't going to follow you, or you've put the word out on Facebook and no one's answered you, or man, you have to keep going. You get to keep going. You that's like the first test and hurdle to get over, and it doesn't stop there. That's just the beginning. And
Totally agree.
then I want to say too, you know, you mentioned like, okay, if you're pursuing a new venture and your primary goal is to make money or something of that nature, maybe there's another path for you. But what you initially got you into wanting to go the medical route was you really already had an intention, which I think a lot of medical professionals do. They go that route because they want to make a difference. And then you realized in that path that no, this isn't the path I'm being called to go. I'm being called to go in another direction. And then you said it, man, courage. That takes a lot of courage to stop, put the brakes on, and sidestep into another path. And that's just so important. You know, you could have gone that route because you thought it was the route to go, like on paper, but like totally being disingenuous to the calling that you were getting. And that could have been, you know, you talk about the root cause, which, you know, of symptoms. That moment right there, had you gone forward in the medical route, that moment later would have become a root cause for stress in your life, or, you know, not being satisfied, not being happy, and it would have manifested itself in who knows how many ways. And it's kind of a cool moment where it's like, nope, no root cause. It's gonna start right here. We're gonna.
You're probably right. I never thought of it that way, but I mean, I could definitely see how looking back, it would be like maybe something, you know, you regret those moments you don't take. And I think you bring up a very good point, that that moment where you're debating on, do I reinvent myself? Do I move in this direction? Do I maybe leave behind something, a path that I'm already on? Not only, you know, not only does that take bravery in making that step, but the biggest thing is also the bravery of overcoming the doubt and the fear. Because the number one thing that the mind begins to do is it begins to question this, and it begins to say, can I do this? Or it becomes afraid of making that step because maybe it thinks it's, you know, the risk, it won't be greater than the reward. But I always encourage people that if they're really feeling it in their heart, and it's a heartfelt drive or passion, and again, if it's something that's trying to be of better service to the world or to humanity or to people, then I believe that always follow the heart, because the head will begin to overthink it and think us out of it. So following, being like a little bit more heart-centered and following your heart in terms of many things, or you know, that some people have that just inner gut feeling, you know, and that first instinct is usually the one to take. And so if you have that gut instinct, or you know, this first instinct that, oh, I think I should go in that route, just go that route. Don't start overthinking it, because end up taking you in the right direction.
Yeah, man. And it's like this reminds me too that when you have that gut feeling or that heartfelt desire and you're feeling pulled in another way, that's really the only thing that you know in that moment, right? It's like you kind of have blinders on, you know, you can't see, and it's dark. You can't see much farther than like, God, I just have this feeling to go in this other direction. And I think some people, we get caught up on wanting to have the steps, you know, wanting to know all the steps, like how, but what about this? But what, like you said, then you talk yourself out of it. And like you couldn't have known like, and even if you had the steps, if someone told you like, what if you only had a partial amount of the steps, and it only went to the point where you were gonna do a meditation and no one showed up? If that's all you had, then you would say, man, F that. I'm not going that route. But it's just gonna unfold itself. And then you talked about this last year, you know, you've you had to reinvent yourself in 2020, just like I did, completely reinvented myself in 2020.
Yeah,
And when you have that desire, internal pulling, calling you in one direction, that's enough to get you through whatever is that gives you the tools, in a way, the drive, I should say, to get you through what's to come. And
right.
if you were just chasing money, or chasing something that really wasn't, I don't mean to demonize money, nothing
Me
wrong with
neither.
money at
No,
all. I just mean that, like, if you didn't have like a deeper like beacon, it's
right.
that beacon that got you through last year and had you say, okay, like, great, let's reinvent. How do I get this message out there? How do I help people meditate? How do I help people? And you right back to the original vision of, we got to work through stress. How do we work through stress? God, there's a lot of stress now. So now we have a lot more work to do.
We do. And yeah, I want to make that point clear too. I'm not villainizing finances or money either. It's just an energy, and it can be used in wonderful ways, and you can do a lot of good with it. When I was making that point, I was just saying, like, just having that as your sole focus is like your levels here. So strive for a higher ideal. There's nothing wrong with this, but use it in a constructive and good ways, because it's just an energy that can be used in some way or another. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you had to spend money to go see Dalai Lama. Let's talk about that. What was it like? You said you studied with the Dalai Lama for 5
5
days, and that sounded like a pretty life-changing experience. What was that like?
It was. The monastery that I was studying at years before that is of the Tibetan lineage, and I would usually go over to India every year from about the end of February until April, and I'd always go and continue my studies and go further, because the truth is that, as I mentioned before, there are thousands of ways to meditate, and if I really want to help all the different minds that are out there, there's over 7 billion minds in this world. Not everyone resonates with that same method. So I would always continue and go seek out other methods and try and find them. And in 2019, when I was going over, I was going to be going over the end of February, and the monastery had sent me a message back saying, Anthony, we'd love, if it's possible, that we know you're coming to stay here and will be arriving at the end of February, but the Dalai Lama is going to be giving a teaching on February 10th through the 15th. And would it be possible? And would you like to join us? So all I wrote back was, of course, with like a bunch of exclamation
Yeah.
points. I'll change my ticket now.
No, no
and
brainer.
so, and so it was actually through my year study with them that I had with the other monks that live in this monastery, a teaching with the Dalai Lama, and it was 5 days. It was totally life changing in the sense that being in this man's presence, there is a palpable energy that you can feel. Like it's an interesting, a charisma or something about him that just permeates the space in the room that he's in. And it is one that it's a sense of peace, it's a sense of like love and compassion. His laugh is completely infectious. There's like this joy that bubbles out of him no matter what he is teaching, and he makes little jokes every once in a while. Now he was teaching in Tibetan when I was there, but what they do is everybody gets a little, or you have to be go out and buy if you don't aren't given one by, like, the monastery had extra, so I was given one. But if anyone else was attending, they would have to go out and buy little radios, and then like with earbuds, you would turn it to a specific dial, and there'd be a translator who might be translating it in Russian or Italian or Spanish or English.
Wow.
Yeah, you listen to it that way, and
It's
it's
like the
sort of.
live sporting events, in a way, where they're broadcasting it out to, all the different nations.
Yes, and so it's very interesting sometimes because the Tibetans would all start laughing, and because of the translations a little bit take a little bit longer, you're getting the joke like a couple seconds later.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was an interesting experience, but to be able to be in his presence, to be able to take these teachings from him, and get initiations into certain what they're called Tibetan tantric meditations and tantric practices, was an opportunity that I never ever saw coming. And one thing that I really took away more than the other is that out of the 5 days, at the end of the 5 days, he would always end it with how tired he gets now, and how he's getting older, and doing a 5 day teachings were beginning to exhaust him. And not only would he say that through his speaking and his teaching, but you actually began to see it also because at the end of where his teaching was in a meditation hall that was about maybe, I don't know, 100 yards from where he lived. So we just have to walk the path. And the first 2 days, he would be able to walk the path to the hall and then walk back. But by the third, fourth, and fifth day, he'd walk to the hall, but then there would be a car that he would get into and drive him back. And he even made a comment that he doesn't know how much longer he would be giving 5 day teachings, but if people would request them, or if a country or another school would request them, he wouldn't deny it. But that just kept reaffirming to me how precious our life is and how sometimes we take things for granted. And this man won't be here maybe much longer. I think he's 85 now, or 80, 84. And so I think it was a sign to his monks and nuns to let them know that, his health maybe is coming towards its end, hopefully not, but a sign that, he won't be there forever for them. And to appreciate the moments that we do have with others. So, they should appreciate the moments that they have getting teachings from him, but not only on that level, but we should appreciate the moments that we have with one another. Because just the ability to connect with you right now and all your watchers and listeners, this is a moment that I'm really cherishing, this ability to talk with you, to share with you, because, God knows how long we have. And, maybe tomorrow might be my time. And, I don't know. And so it's just always something now that leaving the teachings with him makes me focused, more focused than I was, on the people that I do have time with. And so that was a big takeaway from that for me.
Oh, it's so powerful, man. I agree with you. I agree. It's so easy to get caught up on what am I doing next? Or if you're running around in your car right now listening to this, I see you, get slow, pull over and connect with us, because we don't know. And if we're constantly thinking about what's next, or what about tomorrow, then we really are missing life.
Absolutely.
We're missing life.
I couldn't have said
You
that
know,
better. In fact, when I do teach meditation classes, I teach them, hey, if we're not truly present to what's happening in the moment, we're not really living life. We're just sort of existing in life because we're missing really the choices and the experiences that life is presenting to us every single second.
God, it's scary. That's one of the scariest thoughts, honestly, just missing it. Being there and not really being there, like a
Right.
shell of
Yeah.
you. And I've certainly done that. One of the things that I do from time to time, probably,
Meditating for.
oops, it froze there for a second.
Oh,
Say that again.
yeah. I was just saying, I have the same thing. There are moments in my life where I know that maybe I wasn't as present as I could be. So it's always a work in progress.
Work in progress. Yeah. One of the things that I do, man, I say 3, 4 times a year, I go to a graveyard,
Okay.
and I just walk through the graveyard. I don't know anyone at the graveyard that I'm aware of. I just go and read tombstones,
Yeah.
and it is one of the most eye-opening experiences. You just read, you see tombstones where it's like husband and wife next to each other, or you see like the husband there and then the wife, like we call it like in the dash, because it's like, Mary Sue from 1905 to, and then there's a dash, and then to whatever year, and then sometimes you see like, you know the wife was buried in 2005, and then the husband 2006, and it's like, or you see things like a kid, small children, you
Yep.
know 6 years old or 1 year old or teenagers, and it's like I walk around. By the time I leave there, I'm always, bawling.
Yeah.
And then it's just like this reminder of how short and precious life is, and the unknown. There's this like timeline that we don't have maybe we do have access to it. I don't know, but I don't have access to it, and I don't want to have access. We just don't know.
Right. Yeah, I'm enjoying the mystery. I don't know if I'd want to know either when like my time was or anything like that. It would change a lot of things, but I love that. I love that little uh, exercise that you just shared with us and what you do throughout your year a couple of times is to walk through that because it brings in the West, and when I say West, United States and some areas of Europe, it's like we don't talk about death, and it's not something we think about, but it should be, because then it makes us appreciate life so much more. If we contemplate the fact that we're not here forever, but sometimes we think we're immortal. We're never gonna die, we're never gonna grow old, all of
Yeah,
these different things. But that's not true. That's not reality. We all will grow old. We're all on this journey that will eventually end at some point. And so we should appreciate each and every moment along the way. And if we begin to appreciate each and every little moment along the way, we begin to see more of the blessings and the miracles that are happening around us all the time.
totally, man. God, yes. One thing that you said too, I want to loop back to when you talked about being with the Dalai Lama, and you could sort of see the fatigue kicking in toward the end of the 5 days or whatever. What hits me with that is this man is a man on a mission,
Right.
and he's been connected to that mission for a long time,
Yes.
and that mission has been driving him, and because he's operating from his mission, and his vision, his purpose. Age has never been, it's not really a factor for him in terms of making decisions to go be with an audience and make a difference. He's up there in front of how many people at the age of in his 80s.
Yeah.
And if you looked at him through a physical standpoint, it's like, man, you're really pushing yourself right now. But that's not that's not the filter that's making him make the decision. The filter is, I have a mission and a vision. And I say that I got an email this week. At the time of recording, this is obviously a few days before we launched and this series. And a woman wrote me 2 days ago, and she said, I'm 59. So if you're listening, you know who you are. And I want to go launch this new career. She has this amazing credential in the nutrition field, super good nutrition credential. And she's said, and I'm also 59. I don't know how much time I have left. And so for her, and for anyone else who's filtering your decisions through your age, you've got to shift your mind to your vision and your mission, and let what Anthony shared about the Dalai Lama being in his 80s, and he's still up there, not operating from age, he's operating from mission and vision. And the fact that you're here listening to this says that you've got something to offer and give to the world, and you have an age, but you're not your age.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And that mission and vision will carry you far, if you truly believe and follow getting yourself out there. Because even just looping back around to, when I would go and have nobody at a class, if I gave up on my mission and vision that I thought I had, then, it wouldn't have led to the fulfillment of doing a job that I don't even really consider a job.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's so powerful. Yeah. And all the people, like, you can't see the step. If you could have seen the step in that moment, that, someone who's listening to this, you just made a difference for them. I mean, you just
Right.
have to have that faith or trust or whatever, even a knowing that if you keep on the path and you follow your heart and you trust that little voice inside, you don't need to make sense of where that voice is coming from. Just trust it,
Right.
because it's going to make an impact. And what you just said about not feeling like you have a job, man, come on. That's like one of the pinnacles of life
Yeah.
there.
That's
I feel the same. Don't feel like I've really had a job for 18 years, and that's in the middle of reinvention over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in this evolving world, that just as the world is ever evolving and reinventing itself and changing and all of that, I think our life always has to be a continual evolution, because if it becomes stagnant, then, it doesn't seem as fulfilling anymore. So we need to go out and find new ways to maybe sometimes amp up the motivation, or reignite the passion within us. And I believe that's normal. I think it's healthy to actually reinvent, yourself.
I agree with you. Yeah, look at, just a little microcosm of it. When you went to India for that trip we were just talking about, and you had a whole schedule that
Right.
was at a different time, and that little mini reinvention that cost extra money, you had to change things around, probably had to call a few people, but that's
Yep.
all, you know, minor compared to what's on the other side of it. And so it's a constant, listening to that beacon inside to continue to reinvent and navigate. And you can't
Yes.
go Tesla autopilot on this one with your vision. You got to stay present to it.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, let me ask you this, man. You've been meditating for a long time. Uh, I like what you said about all the different variations of meditation, thousands of them. That you last time we spoke, for those who don't know, you've been on a previous series. You opened my mind up to that, and that was really helpful to realize, like,
Thank you.
okay, I don't have to sit with my legs crossed and put, this like stereotypical. What's your meditation practice look like? Your personal meditation practice?
That's an interesting question too, because that has reinvented itself over the course of my years of learning also. When I
I
first
kind of
began, it was through a practice known as Kriya Yoga. Now, some people will hear that and they think it's like body postures and positions, but it's more of a meditation practice in and of itself, taught by a man, Paramahansa Yogananda. And so that's how I first began, and I was doing that for years. But then it slowly evolved and reinvented itself into more of mindful meditations and breath awareness and all of these sort of things. And then I even delved into, for about 2, 3 years, a form of meditation known as Christian contemplation, because I did go live in a Franciscan monastery for a little bit of time also. Not that long. I would not say I'm a Franciscan monk or anything like that, but I did do an extended retreat at one of theirs just to learn, because there are a lot of Christians out there that sometimes think meditation isn't compatible with what they do, but there are methods within the Christian context that is highly compatible and are forms of meditation, but they usually just use the word contemplation with it. And then,
okay.
or centering prayer, that's another one that they use. And then after studying over the past 3 years now in some Buddhist monasteries and in a yogic ashrams, I would say that today's practice is more on the level of mantra incorporated with visualization techniques. So that's predominantly what I'm doing now.
I like
Because
it. So you have a mantra that you say, and then what? And then that mantra is like related to a visualization, something that you're working
absolutely,
toward or creating.
there's a symbol sometimes that you meditate upon known as mandalas and these sort of things. So you're might be visualizing that while chanting a mantra, or you could visualize other things also. There are other symbols that you can use, but that's probably my focus.
Do you tend to, or is it fluid? Do you tend to start your day with a meditation? Do you meditate throughout the day? Do you wait until you're like, God, I got to stop and meditate? Like, what's that look like for you?
All of the above.
All the above?
what,
Yeah.
what happens is I usually try to start every morning, of course, start my day that way. That is that sets my tone for the day. But then there are moments where I go through my day and I notice that maybe something's coming along and it's sort of irritating. So I say, all right, rather than let this irritate me, let me stop and let me focus for a minute and get myself more centered. So there are moments when I do that. Then there are classes that I offer, usually in the evening, and so I'm meditating with students or groups at that point in time. And then sometimes I try to, of course, always meditate before I go to bed. But there are some moments where my days are long and I might fall asleep without, doing it. But when that happens, for anybody out there, don't beat yourself up if you miss a meditation. One of the other things is, sometimes we feel guilty if we didn't do it or we missed it. And then we start, criticizing ourselves. No, just know that tomorrow you have the ability to get up and start again.
Yeah. No, man, I like that. And then you bring me back to just the whole idea of like medical school and treating symptoms, because, I know there's someone listening who maybe gets a headache in the day and they go like pop a pill or something like that to like symptom and then medication. And what I heard you say too was like symptom where you're getting stressed about something or feeling off or whatever, and then medication, but the meditation.
Yeah.
And it's just like you just got to be prepared for whatever it is and realize that, man, we have so much power and authority over our state
Yes.
And so that's what I kind of wanted to dig, just hear a little bit about how you use it, how it's applicable. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and we really do. I love that you just brought up those two terms because, yeah, I often say meditation is my medication. But also, if you really look at those two words, you see that meditation and medication are absolutely the same except for one letter. There's a T and a C. That's the only difference between them. And the root word for meditation and the root word for medication actually come from the same root word, which means to heal. And
Mm,
now I often reference that medication is something that you do to heal the body, where meditation is something you do to heal the mind or the emotions. And so meditation, it can be used in powerful ways and is a powerful component to help you deal with, the sort of chaotic mind that we all have, or the anxiety that the mind has is going through, or things like that. And it truly helps us to navigate through this stressful world with a little bit more calm and a little bit more centeredness and presence. It also helps us to deal with difficult emotions when they arise, so like anger or sadness or depression or anything else that might be arising within the framework of the body. It helps us to be able to navigate and deal with those as well. So we're not sort of tossed around by them. Life has its ups and downs. Life will always have ups and downs. It can never be up here all the time. It can never be down here all the time. It's just the nature of life. I mean, even if you hook somebody up to an EKG machine, you see that, or the heartbeat. The heartbeat goes like this. It's never like this.
mhm.
If you're like this, you're dead. It's called flatline. So
Yeah.
so how can life, why would you even want life to be like this? Life is not this. Life is this. So life has its hills and life has its valleys. You'll have moments where life is great, life is blissful, life is wonderful, everything's going good. But you'll also have those moments where life isn't going the way you want it to go. And typically what we do is we want it always to be here and never to be here. And so when it's here, we love it. And when it begins to change, we begin to hate it. And then when it's down here, we struggle against it because we don't want it. And that just makes life a little bit more, unpleasant, dissatisfying. And so, what meditation can help us to do is really ride the wave of life so that we're present to it when it's up here and we're really enjoying it and saying, oh, life is good. Let me be with it because, who knows how long this will last. So, let me really enjoy how pleasant this moment is. And then when it gets down here, we have the ability of the mind, the presence of mind to say, hey, things aren't exactly the way I want them right now, but you know what? This too shall pass because things have to change at some point. And so it helps us to get through those moments a little bit easier. And there's great research that you can dive in universities of how beneficial mindfulness is for, and meditation is for anxiety, for, we know, definitely no stress, but for depression, for a million physical things that we can talk about, like high blood pressure and all of that, and migraines and everything else. But it really does help us on multi levels. So not just physically, mentally, or emotionally, or spiritually, but it actually touches upon each of those. And so it's a very powerful practice that I think everyone should at least look into. And if you have, and you gave it up, maybe you just didn't find the method that's right for you. So really navigating this world to find the one that just resonates with you personally, and then practicing it so that it becomes consistent and becomes as regular as brushing your teeth or taking a shower. That's really when the benefits of these practices begin to unfold. Not if you sat like 20 minutes today and sat 20 minutes in March and then sat 20 minutes in the summer. That's not going to do anything for you. But if you just sit a little bit of time each and every single day, that's really, you're going to see your life totally be reinvented, and you're going to see things about you totally change. You're going to see yourself maybe dealing with situations where before you would get flustered or irritated or angry, and you're going to see those same things present themselves, and you're not going to react in the same way anymore. It's like there's a little pause. It's like life presents something to you, and then rather than just reacting, you begin to see it and say, oh, how should I respond to this? And so what actually I say meditation teaches us is it teaches us how to respond wisely to life. And so it's a
Mm.
very powerful thing.
You know what just came to me as you're describing that is it's like a tool, right? You're learning different techniques to respond to different situations in life. And then the analogy that came to me, I like pancakes, man. So I'm the pancake master in my house. And so it would be like if you made a pancake and then you tried to flip the pancake over with a spoon,
Right.
or like a knife, like, and this pancake is this big, you're just gonna have a hard time flipping that pancake over. You got to get a spatula and
Yes.
flip that pancake over. And when you're talking about meditation and different techniques, that's what came, is like, you need a spatula for the pancake, and you need a spoon for the oatmeal, and you need a glass for the milk or whatever you're drinking. And that's what
Yep.
meditation is.
Yeah. And you need the right method, the right tool to help you with certain things that are happening in your life. Absolutely. That's a great analogy.
Totally, man. Okay, I got a couple things too. I've been reading since we spoke last. I've been reading a book called Breathe by James Nestor.
Okay.
You're familiar with
I
that
am.
one? That is great. It really opened my eyes to some of the like science behind everything, the stuff that you're talking about. I mean, there's just some fascinating stuff that I never realized. Like even your facial structure can change, and your dental care can change through breathing. And
Absolutely.
there was a study in there about someone who had like a severe disorder, and they taught them like they did alternate nostril breathing, and realized that this person was really heavy on one side of the brain. And I don't remember what side, parasympathetic or the sympathetic. And so they switched the breathing for a number of months to activate the other side of the brain. And the person's symptoms just dropped from like these crazy episodes where this person was seeing, like hallucinating and seeing things. I mean, and that stuff dropped from, many times a day to like days in between. So I just thought that was really powerful. That came up to me while you were sharing about meditating. And then another thing I'd love to just touch on is, I know you do sound bowls,
I do.
right? You work a lot with sound bowls.
I do.
So I'm pretty new to, I have a sound bowl, but I can make it make noise, but I can't like, I haven't figured out how to like play it or whatever. But one thing I've been doing is I've realized that different ways of being, I guess, like peace or love or abundance or focus, there's different frequencies that activate or like contribute to those ways of being. And I've been listening to these meditations that, instead of music, sometimes I'll just put, if I want more focus, I'll go and put like focus frequency, and it's like a certain frequency, like I don't remember the frequency. I think 528 hertz was love or
Yep, that's
something
the
like
one.
that.
Yes,
Okay.
you're right with that one. And then
Can
there's
you can you talk a little? Go ahead.
432. No, I was just gonna say there's also 432, which is believed to be one that's more harmonious, calming, and peaceful.
Okay. So can you kind of put the link between, let's say you're having a stressful day, or you're in a stressful place in your life, right? And how can you use like sound healing, and what's the science behind like the different frequencies and how that relates to the different states?
Now that's an excellent question.
Okay.
I don't know how much time you have for this because this could get kind of down a rabbit hole with this one. But
Okay. And I'm a beginner, so I know that I don't have the direct right question yet. So,
no, no,
maybe just skim the surface on this one.
sure. When it comes to sound and frequencies, um, it is a personal experience for each and every person because sound will affect people differently in the sense that can begin to, if I play a bowl and a particular tone or frequency or vibration or note is being sent out from it, there are some people that can actually find it pleasant, and some people that actually find it a little bit, oh, I don't like that sound, or a little bit put off by it. And even though there's two people hearing the exact same sound, they're having a very different experience from it. So it's sort of subjective to the person. So yes, there are these broad categories of frequencies like 528, 432, 396 that are believed to be, more in line or harmony with the universe, be more peaceful, healing, and sort of have a nicer experience with it. But you can't say that on a broad brush that everyone has that same experience. Because what those notes and the frequencies begin to do is, according to Einstein, according to Tesla, and many of the scientists out there, this entire world that we see around us, this world of form, the rocks, the trees, the sun, the moon, the stars, and our physical flesh and blood bodies, all this stuff that we call matter is not true reality. The true reality is that all matter is energy, and everything's an energetic vibration. And according to science, that my form is nothing more than an energetic vibration. And as these sound waves energy or sound bowls begin to send out energies into the room, those energies can then have an effect with your energetic body. And we can get into a whole discussion because there's many different you know ways different philosophies and traditions view our energetic body. They often say they have energy centers associated with it, and depending on the tradition, there's a different number to them, and so on and so forth. But some traditions say that we store or hold emotions in certain parts of these energy centers, like fear or anger and all of that. And in many Eastern traditions, they also say that emotions affect certain parts of our body. Like many Eastern traditions say anger affects the liver, and anxiety can affect the lungs and all of that. Well, and it's slowly moving westward because there is a couple good books out there too. One's called The Molecule of Emotions, and one called The Body Keeps
Mm.
Score, and how we hold trauma, how we hold emotions and different things in parts of the body. And there's even this thing called muscle memory and mirror neurons that we can all talk about as well, but I won't go into all of that either. Well, I'll just give you the little cliff note version of, as the singing bowls send out their vibration, it can begin to affect your energetic body. And as it begins to shake it up in a certain way, some emotions or lower energies or things that you might be holding or in your physical body or your emotional body can begin to get released. And so that's why somebody might have a pleasant experience from a bowl because it's affecting them in a good way, but in the other person it's stirring up something within them that they need to process. And so sometimes people can actually get emotional during experiences and they cry or they have an experience where they're put off, like, I don't like this. And when that happens, you really need to look within yourself and saying, well, what is this bringing up within me? So to answer your question that you really did ask, when it comes to, finding vibrations to help us focus or be more peaceful, it's really about what works for you, because it's also like the aromatherapy. There's aromatherapy that, you can Google, smells that make me more relaxed, focused, and calm. And, for the majority of people, maybe it does work that way. But in some people, it doesn't. So, for example, peppermint is considered very energetic, uplifting smell, energetic. But if you were a child and maybe after you were taken out of a bath, your mother rubs you down with peppermint lotion and puts you in your crib, that smell would have a totally different experience for you. So sounds work in the same way. Every energy works in the same way. And so when we deal with these sounds of the healing bowls or sounds frequencies, or go on YouTube and find frequencies for this or for that, you really need to experiment with them and find out which ones do resonate with you, which ones maybe do help you feel more calm, more relaxed. But I would say that ideally, the ones that you don't like or the ones that are making you feel uncomfortable are really the ones that will contribute more to your healing,
Mm-hmm.
because that's like, well, why? It's just a sound. Why is this making me feel uncomfortable? What is it bringing up in me? What is it triggering me that maybe I wasn't ready to face yet? And so, there's many different ways that we can talk about all of that, but that just in terms of the healing aspect, the energy of the bowls begin to affect your energy. But on a deeper level, why it's powerful in meditation is because it begins to change your brainwave activity. And so now this has been studied. It's thankfully, since sound meditations have become so popular recently over the past couple of years, more studies are happening on them. One study by a university in Canada actually showed that people who meditate with singing bowls begin to get into a relaxed state a little bit quicker than people who actually try to sit in silence. In fact, they actually tell meditators you should meditate for about 20 to 30 minutes a day, And that's because it takes about 20 minutes for the brain waves to get out of the beta, which is conscious mind, word mind, analytical mind, everyday thinking, and into the alpha, which is more relaxed and calm. But with singing bowls, they actually show that the sounds of the bowls begin to entrain or move the brainwave activity out of the beta into the alpha in about 12 minutes. Now that's an 8-minute difference. So
Wow.
you're moving into the alpha and the more relaxed state a little bit quicker than trying to do it on your own by maybe sitting in silence or focusing on the breath. Now they actually also show that the sound waves of the bowls can, if you get very relaxed and calm, can begin to move you into a brainwave state known as theta quicker too. And theta is a brainwave state which is a very deep, rejuvenative, a meditative state. And that's where like deep healing begins to occur. And master meditators can get into theta pretty proficiently. It usually takes a beginning meditator a little bit of time to really cultivate the ability to get into theta. But there has been research that the singing bowls can also begin to do it as well.
Man, awesome. Well, we got it. Next time we do a conversation, let's dive like I'll have to do a whole one just on this topic because this is fascinating. This is why I like talking to you, man, and because you just give me, a little deeper cut each time. I'm gonna start meditating on the sound bowls, and I noticed that I listen to the frequencies that I really like, and then
Right.
kind of not that that's bad,
No,
but
it's not bad.
that area of me is open already. It's open. I'm already. It's almost like just if you were to clean your desk every single day. Okay, you
Yep.
always have a clean desk. There's one little spot on there, and like the sounds that relax me, like maybe sort of like cleaning the areas that are already clean.
Yeah.
And you know what? You made me realize there's a I can't think of. See, I even put a block on it because I don't like it. But there's a smell. What is it? There's this little like wood chip looking thing that people burn. It's like an incense.
Apollo.
So, oh my God, yes, I hate it, man. I hate it. and and I've never met anyone that hates it. I'm just being vulnerable about it. And sometimes Candace will burn it, and I get so irritated, dude. I'm like, what are you like? Open the doors. It smells so bad. But you know what I realized too is that my ex-girlfriend used to burn that. We had an experience where we went to a mutual friend's house,
Right.
and we burned, and we that's where I first learned about it, and they burned it there, and so that reminds me of her.
Right.
And so that this, like you talking to me, is a reminder that like I get to go in and still do more work around healing whatever remnants are there if this
Yes.
is still triggering something for me. So I just wanted to share that publicly because like I got
Yeah.
stuff I'm working through, and we all do.
That's excellent that you're aware of those things, though. That smell, and I think I said it wrong. It's Palo Santo.
Palo
I
Santo,
think I
yeah.
said it reversed. It's Santo Palo, but it's Palo Santo stick of incense. But yeah, if you're aware that that triggers you or that brings up something within you, and it's just an aroma, why do I hate it? And we really
Yeah,
dive into, well, yeah, why do I hate it? Let me ask myself, let me question this, let me look into this. What is going on? And you're recognizing that maybe it's due to a past relationship. That's great because now you have the awareness to heal that. So that's great.
totally. I'm gonna heal that, man. Because it's like what I know is in like a little tiny piece of my power, I've given it away to an old experience, and that's not serving me, and even creating like a little disruption when Candace burns Palo Santo, and I'm like following her around with the fan. I'm like, get that shit out of here, It's like none of that's necessary. I could probably dissolve my whole reaction just by doing a little more work on that. So that was a cool opening that I just had.
Excellent.
Cool, man. Hey, let me see. One quick question. So this is a hot seat question. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you a hot seat question, and
Uh-uh.
not on purpose. I just didn't think about it in the lead up before we got on here. So whatever bullet point, okay, like whatever bullet point answer comes to you. Let's say you're hanging out with a buddy of yours, and they're confiding in you and saying, I'm really getting a calling to go do something else. But I've been in this career for a long time, or I have family to feed, or I have a business I'm already in. It's just too much, and you sort of get the hint that they're not going to be courageous. They're not ready to access that courage yet, or they don't know how. What would you say to that person to encourage them to follow that guidance that they're getting inside?
I would definitely say them to look inside themselves and see if it's really pulling on their heart. And if it's really pulling on your heart, then don't deny that. Follow your heart because your heart will not lead you astray. But if you got a job that's taking care of the bills, you got a family to feed and all of this, I wouldn't just cut that tie and, maybe start moving in that direction. I do it wisely where, you maybe start working on your spare time or your free time on what it is you really want to do. Follow that call, follow that path, and still for now continue working the job you have that's paying your bills. Because sometimes when you step into a new field, just like I did from the medicine to the meditation, it took me a while to build up my name. It took me a while to let the community know, hey, I'm out here, I'm offering classes, or this is the product that I have to serve or give to you. And that took time. So don't think that even if you follow your heart, that, is going to be an overnight success. I really don't believe there are any overnight successes. I believe it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of years to become that overnight success that everybody thinks you are. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of hard work put in that you're unaware of going into that happening. And so, if you do have something that's paying your bills, but it's not fulfilling anymore, I wouldn't suggest you continue that because that unfulfillment is then going to lead into a lot of, you know, negative emotions that's going to arise from that and dissatisfaction. And then you're going to, as you sort of referenced before about me, maybe if I didn't take that step, I'd regret it. You're going to look back on your life and regret you didn't give that a try or take that risk. So follow your heart,
totally.
follow the passion, but just do it in a wise way.
Yeah, awesome, man. Great, great coaching. Okay, and then final thing, I know that you have a gift that you're offering to the audience for those that want to connect with you more. Can you speak into what that is?
Absolutely. So it's a free ebook on mindfulness and meditation, and it's a way to just really give people a foundation. So if you're looking to start and you don't know where to begin, this will give you everything you need to lay a solid foundation on which to build upon. There's a couple of guided meditations in there from me also that you can access through the ebook, and it's just a good way to get you started. Or if you've practiced and maybe fallen out of the habit, it's a way to help people refresh your practice also.
Beautiful, awesome. Thanks for offering that, and also thanks for putting it together.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for this
Yeah,
time.
man.
Great speaking with you. I love speaking with you. It's wonderful to connect with you anytime.
I appreciate that, Anthony. Yeah, likewise, man. You're welcome, and thank you as well. Thanks for taking your time and hopping on. I love connecting with you too. This was awesome, and I know it was awesome for everyone listening as well. So
I thank
this,
everybody out there as well. So thank you all.
yeah, likewise. Yeah, thank you, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.